Three in the Box is not affiliated with USPSA or its board of directors. Bill, Josh, and Nikki make this podcast. Our views are our own, and the views expressed by our guests are their own. Nothing said on this podcast is intended to represent the views of any organization unless expressly stated.
This is a Facade podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Three in the Box podcast, powered by Power Soccer Shop. I'm Bill.
I'm Josh.
I'm Nikki, and this is Three in the Box.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of season 2 of Three in the Box, Power Soccer podcast, powered by Power Soccer Shop. I am Bill Schultz, here with my friends Josh Berger and Nikki Dwyer. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great. I'm doing wonderful. Background. We got a new background on a podcast
It's our
here.
holiday episode. We had to match
Exactly.
your Christmas tree.
I know.
Like Christmas had enthusiasm, Josh.
Thank
We
you,
had to
thank you.
Get that from somewhere.
It's my favorite time of year. And Nikki's got some Christmas lights behind her now.
Nikki spent the time before the podcast telling us that those are not Christmas lights, though. They're just lights.
But they're close enough.
Happened to add for this episode.
They're not
Defend.
colors.
No, they're more like Easter colors. But it works. Still got lights.
And you
and
still
colors.
put lights up for the holiday episode. I feel like that qualifies as holiday lights, regardless of the
What about you,
color.
Bill? How come you don't have any lights?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do have a little Nightmare Before Christmas tree that
Yep,
you can't
yep.
see because it's on the other side of the room. But yeah, I put up Halloween decorations that are
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas, and they just
Yeah.
stay up till New Year's. That's kind of my jam.
We had to follow in Josh's footsteps.
Yeah, you're doing
Nice.
a better job than I
Very
am.
nice.
Yeah,
Next
for
year. Next year.
sure. We'll
When we
see.
go on season 3.
Yeah, we'll see. I think you might have to hold down the fort on the Christmas decorations for all of us, Josh. We are gonna we got a great episode planned. We actually have a jam-packed episode planned.
Mhm.
We are gonna talk about let's start from the end and work our way backwards to now. Our interview for this episode, our feature, we're talking to George Ostrom, Director of Sport for USPSA. We have a
Mhm.
great conversation with George. We get into some nitty-gritty about some rules and rule changes. Josh proposes a new rule, and so we're excited about that. And George was also one of the officials at the America's Cup tournament that happened just a few weeks ago. So he had
Mhm.
some stuff to tell us about that. We also have a real short interview with our buddy Zak Schmoll, who created a new program for Power Soccer Playmaking. So we're excited to talk to Zak as well. Before we get to those guys, though, we have 2 things to cover, the 3 of us, Josh
Mhm.
and Nikki. We have 4 tournaments in December that we are going to cover and talk about those tournaments. And before we get to that, we've been teasing this for a little bit. We're going to talk about player transfers. Lots of players that have been in the league for a long time,
Mhm.
transferring teams. So we're going to talk a little bit about that to get started. What do you think?
I like it. How come we didn't do this? How come we didn't do this last year?
Well, I'll be honest, and let's give credit where credit is due,
Yeah.
because USPSA put them on the website this year.
Mhm.
And so now we have a comprehensive record of who is officially
Mhm.
transferred and who isn't. So that's why
Right.
we haven't talked about them in the past. In fact, we kind of knew some of these last month. We just,
Mhm.
because even, and we'll say this again when we talk about game results, but they're always unofficial until they're made official
Right.
by the league. But
Right.
these player transfers are official, right? We've had
Mhm.
rumors for months about some of these players, but
Yep.
once they're on the website, that means the league's approved them. So we're going to talk about them a little bit.
Exactly. Cool.
Love it. All right. I think the biggest one that everybody's kind of been talking about already, there's a new team, the Florida Surge. Our buddy Alex and Devin Johnson started that team. A bunch of players from the old Brooks Barracudas have transferred over to the new Florida Surge.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. More teams. Gotta love it.
More teams. We love
More
that.
teams. Yep.
Another one, my buddy, Ben Anko, who
Hey.
was formerly playing with the LA Galaxy back in the Midwest, representing. He transferred to Minnesota United. So we'll see
Hey,
Ben.
that's gonna be a good team.
See Ben and Loon's kit this year. Yeah, that team, I've been hyping them up. I hyped them up all last season. I don't think they need to get any better, but they did. They did lose T. Josh, who went over to Minnesota Northern Lights. So that makes that team better too, I think. Minnesota Northern Lights, who doesn't actually need any help either.
Right.
Our buddy Rich Phillips transferred to Boston Breakers.
Yep. Long-time supporter of ours.
Yes, he is. Rich, big fan of the podcast. So we're a big fan of Rich, of course.
Of course.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. Julian Perez transfers from LA Angels to LA Galaxy. My, not to call this out, Julian, but I'm gonna. I was calling a game up in the booth at Nationals where you decided to flip your chair over during warm-ups. That was wild. Let's try not to do that on your new team if you can help it.
No.
Josh, you want to talk about the Solario brothers?
Yeah, the Solario bros, who have been around the game for forever, have now are back with the Steamrollers. They were on the Steamrollers, and they played for the Ducks, and then I think there was another team in there somewhere. And now they're back to the Steamrollers, so it's good to see them back where they, I believe, started. So, you also forgot Chase Christensen is also now on the LA Galaxy. He transferred from the LA Angels, and so, or I think they're called LA Angels. So, yes, I'm looking forward to seeing what Chase brings to that team, and Julian too.
For sure.
Yeah.
And sticking in California, you mentioned the Ducks. The Ducks got a big pickup. Ryan Connolly from Team USA going over to Golden State Ducks for this upcoming season.
Yeah, they're a strong team. And then they also got Tyler Zapke from my old team, so that's great. And he's gonna do well on that squad. And he's already doing really well. We just played them, the Ducks, and they crushed us 7-0. But we'll get to that.
You said we couldn't mention that. You told me I couldn't.
You know what?
That.
I had to. I had to. They deserve it. So they beat us fair and square. It was just stomping. But hey, they're a top 10 team, top 10 team in the country. So give credit where it's due.
Absolutely. And speaking of top 10 teams in the country, Charlie Lettenberger, who was with Motor City Eagles, now transfers to Turnstone Flyers.
That's a big step. Yeah,
that changes things a little bit for Charlie, for sure. But I know Turnstone, of course, lost Tiffany Labus this year to retirement. So adding Charlie from Motor City Eagles, Charlie going from Founders to Premier.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then we're not mentioning all the transfers. You can go out on the website. Josh, where do we find these? They're under Member Hub and then Certified List. One more I was going to mention. RHI Inferno and Henry County Hot Shots flipping a couple of players. Bandit Carr went to Hot Shots from Inferno, and then Luke Birch and Kendall Rogers went from Hot Shots to Inferno. So those teams swapping a couple of players.
Yeah. Yeah, that pretty much covers all of them.
Pretty much covers most of them. I don't think we mentioned every single one.
No.
But so some players that have been around the game for a long time will be on new teams this year.
It's great. Fresh face, fresh blood. It's great.
Do you guys think of any of those we just mentioned? What do you think changes the landscape the most? Which one of those you think will have the biggest effect off the top of your head? Any guesses? I'm putting these guys on the spot. I didn't tell them I was going to ask them this question.
Nikki, do you want to go first on this one?
I would say that Motor City Eagles will probably look a lot different and maybe took, a little bit of a loss. I know Charlie was like one of their starter players. I don't know everyone on their team, but I just know like he was always on the court when they were playing. And like big jump for him to go to Turnstone, as you guys mentioned, but also a big loss for Motor City.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that too. And then I think the biggest swing for me is probably Connolly being on the Ducks. The LA Galaxy is going to hurt a little bit, but they're still a very strong team. They got Steve. They now have Julian. They have Chase. They have Ulis. They have there's one more Cosmo, and I think that's pretty much it. But yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. But yeah, Connolly really makes the stream makes the Ducks much stronger, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. And Ben Anko going to Minnesota United FC. I mean, that's Minnesota UFC. I cannot pronounce it.
MNUFC. Just gotta do the chant, Josh.
I know. Yeah, I don't know the chant. I'm not from Minnesota, so my bad. But anyway, they were a good team before Ben joined the squad, so I'm really excited, and I know you're high on MN and UFC, so one of your favorite teams to watch. So yeah,
I am, but I also, and I'm glad you mentioned Ben, because I was actually going to mention the other player in that swap, right? I think T-Josh going over to Minnesota Northern Lights is maybe like a sneaky, quiet one that we didn't get a lot of press, but T-Josh, a really good player for Minnesota United, now going to go and help out another top 10 team in Minnesota Northern Lights. That adds a piece for them that I think might raise them a level. I like that move too.
Yeah, I think the landscape has changed in the whole state of Minnesota and Indiana with Charles going to Flyers, and then California changing the landscape as well. So it's gonna be really interesting. Yeah.
Exciting stuff. And we didn't even mention a whole new team in Florida Surge. I mean, that adds something different to that Southeast division while changing Brooks Barracudas completely. I mean, I think they lost all 4 starters, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't seen the Florida Surge logo, it's quite nice. It's pretty clean. So you guys
purple and black, baby.
Yeah, it's a great combo.
All right, Josh and Nikki. Well, we should get to talking about some December tournament action. I'm going to start us off by talking about a big tournament that happened in Fort Wayne at Turnstone, a 2-day tournament on December 6th and 7th. We had teams across all 4 conferences participating in this one. There were 2 Premier League teams in this, Turnstone Flyers and Dassa Cyclones. Turnstone went 3-0. They beat the Cyclones twice. They also had a really close game with Aspo Force, a champions team. Beat them 2-1. They were ahead 2-0 for most of that game. Aspo getting a goal right at the end to almost even that one. But Aspo Force went 3-1 in that tournament. So a pretty good showing from them.
Okay.
Yeah. And that Turnstone team looks a little bit different than it did last year. No Tiffany Labus. Right. And adding a piece we just talked about in Charlie from Motor City Eagles.
Yeah.
Presidents brought 4 teams. The one I wanted to touch on, Glassa, Chicago, formerly known as the Fire, now known as Glassa Chicago House. Changing their professional team affiliation, jumping from Chicago Fire of MLS to Chicago House AC, who I don't know exactly what league affiliation they have, but like a lower level team, but a very cool branding. And I would suspect that my buddy Tyler Engel had a little bit to do with that move. He's buddies with Peter Wilt, who was a big part of getting Chicago House AC started. But I heard they got new kits.
Oh,
they do. They look sick.
Really? Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Excited to see them.
We might have to do a kit ranking at some point.
Are they like Chicago House AC is like black with orange and green, I think.
Oh, really?
It's like a tealish color with some orange.
Cool.
Ooh,
okay.
Well,
Chicago will be looking for new kits and for you to represent. Chicago went 2-1-1 in this one. Mary Freebed was the best finisher of the President's Conference. They were 3-1-1. They did not get scored on.
They scored 8 goals.
Wow. Scored 8 goals and did not get scored on. Hot Shots were in this tournament. Inferno were in this tournament. They swapped some players. Inferno also went undefeated. They were the only Founders team to not have a loss in this tournament. So lots going on there. Another big tournament in Turnstone.
That's really cool. I wish we could do a regular season tournament at Indiana. It'll be fun.
No, it's just a quick little what, Josh?
Yeah.
20-hour drive or so?
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah, more like 30 hours, give or take. Yeah.
California's so far away, dude.
It is very far away.
Get on an airplane.
I wish. Chico needs to get an airport. I mean, we do have an airport coming in, but I think it's strictly regional. So
In Chico?
in Chico, yeah.
You get a Gophers team plane, buddy, and a
Dude,
pilot.
I'm thinking a charter plane.
Yeah.
Come on, Jerry Jones, where you at?
Love it. I love that for you.
I know.
That Gopher logo would look sick on the side of an airplane.
It would.
I'm just saying.
Yep, it would.
Just saying. Speaking of your Chico Gophers, Josh, you were at a tournament that very same weekend in San Jose.
Yeah, we were. It was a San Jose shootout on December 6th, and it was I believe it was just a five-team tournament. The Flash went 2-0. They played against the Ducks, and they also played against the Shockers. Flash versus Shockers was 7-1, and Flash against the Ducks was 1-0. That was a game, as you can imagine, was a game much watched TV at the tournament, and it lived up to the hype. It was really, really good, and it's just awesome that they're basically in each other's backyard. I mean, they can play each other all the time, so it makes them better. So it's really fun to watch. And then the Gophers, we struggled a little bit. We went 0-2. Like I said, we lost 7-0 to the Ducks, and then we lost 2-1 against the Steamrollers. And let's see what else. And we have So Flash went 2-0. Steamrollers went 2-0. The Ducks went 1-1. We went 0-2, and Forbes Shockers went 0-2. And Forbes is looking strong, even though they only went 0-2. They're looking really strong with Brittany, and this is her second year in this sport, and she is a fierce player, and I really don't like playing against her because she kind of terrifies me, and she knows that. And but she's gonna be a good player for the future, so I'm excited for her.
Brittany's still the loudest goal celebration I've ever heard at National.
Oh yeah. In an 8th place match.
Yeah, no
7th place, 8th place match.
Stay hype.
She kept that team from getting relegated. So that kudos to her.
I want to just mention too, shout out to Turnstone for putting their tournament results online. Also, I want to give props to our buddy Chris Faria, who got us stats and scores from that tournament in San Jose that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Speaking of programs putting tournament results online, Nikki, you gathered us some results from the Lakeshore tournament. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, and it was really cool because they updated them almost in real time. Like I got these scores like the day of the tournament, which was awesome, which was just really a few days ago. And so at Lakeshore, Slam and the Ham, they had
what is that name? I love it.
Where'd that come from? Do we know?
It's on the website. I don't know.
I gotta look that up.
We're gonna have to ask some questions about where that came from.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal tournament.
Comment below and tell us what Slam in the Ham means.
I love it.
In attendance, they had Atlanta Sting, who went 3-2. Lakeshore Force, who went 2-2. Auburn, who, we're not really surprised they won all 5 of their games. Shepherd Strikers went 3-2. Lakeshore Charge 0-4, and Brooks Barracudas 1-4. And we also had some pretty high scoring games. Sting, Lakeshore Force, Auburn, and Shepherd Strikers all scored more than 10 goals across their games, with Auburn leading with 19 goals. Again, not surprised there.
19 in 5 games.
Okay,
that's impressive. I'm quite impressed.
They did have a 9-goal game, it looks like.
Yeah, 9-goal game against who was it?
Lakeshore Charge.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That'll do it. So if you're a Premier team, are you kind of shaking in your boots right now, seeing that the Auburn team has scored 19 in 5 games?
To be fair,
yes.
The highest ranked team other than Auburn was Strikers. or
Sting.
Atlanta,
You're going to
both
Sting.
of whom were. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Nick. What?
I think it's Sting.
I think it is
Okay.
Sting, yeah.
Well, but isn't Sting still presidents?
No.
They're
No,
champions.
they're champions. Yeah, they're
Okay.
champions.
Okay, so a champions team, but I'm just saying, like Lakeshore, or excuse me, Auburn, great team,
Oh, yeah.
great team, gonna do some damage in
Yeah.
Premier, no question. But
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be scoring 19 goals in 5 games in Premier. That's all I'm
No.
saying.
But
And
it,
I'm sure,
I mean,
I'm sure Zach Diggy's at home, like saying something to me right now about that. But I
probably.
still think that'll be a challenge.
But they know it's their third season now as a competitive team, so you can imagine that they're just getting better and better and better. So, and I think they practice like almost every day, if not at least 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, well,
so.
when all your players live in like a 10 block radius, I guess that's easier to do, right?
Yeah, with a university behind you on it. So
I love that.
that's pretty awesome. Maybe I should start a team out here in Chico State.
I think we talked about doing an episode about this. I think there are ways to like integrate with universities that aren't full on like what Auburn did,
Right.
but ways to like integrate and work with some of the local like educational places.
Yeah.
I think there's ways to do that. We might see more of that.
Yeah, because we had Ball State, we had Arizona State, we had Auburn. Pretty sure there was another one in there, so that's another episode. But
yeah, it is another episode, but I think there's opportunity there for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. One more tournament we didn't talk about. Up in New Hampshire.
Oh.
The NEP Power Soccer Invitational hosted at the University of New Hampshire on December 6th. There were 8 teams at this, including Canada. Both NEP teams were there, Wildcats and Thundercats, New England FC, Boston Breakers, Vermont Chargers, and Upper Valley. Shout out to our buddy Zak Schmoll, who's going to be in the next segment. Zach got me all these results. Appreciate that, Zach. NEP Wildcats had the best record in this one. They went 3-1. Their only loss to NEFC. NEFC was also 3-1, and their only loss was to Wildcats. So those guys trading games. I did hear, according to Zach, there were some chair issues on his team for one of those matches.
No.
So much like your 7-0 loss, Josh.
Yes.
Everybody's got reasons for stuff like that. But excited that SIVA team was there again. They were 0-3. And then they kind of divided this tournament. New Hampshire kind of divided this tournament into halves. So like they had an A flight and a B flight. Teams were playing teams like from their division. So
got it.
In that B flight, NEP Thundercats and Commonwealth Cruisers, both 2-1-1. Those are the best records from that B division.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So a lot of tournaments happening right now in the month of December. We did have a couple in November as well, but I think most teams start playing in December, and we're gonna start ramping up fairly quickly as soon as registration is over. Make sure if you haven't registered your team yet, get it done. It is done. It is due, I believe, New Year's Eve.
It is due December 31st. New Year's Eve day is your last day to register your team.
Yes. So please get it, or I don't know what to say.
Or be left out in the cold. You'll be watching the rest of us play soccer this season.
We don't want that. We want you to play. So get on that, seriously. This is a public announcement for you guys. But yeah, I'm excited for the season coming up. It's gonna be great. And we got a big tournament coming up in Phoenix, hosted by Tony Jackson and Arizona squad. So that'll be fun. So we're looking forward to that.
Love it. All right. Before we go to our next 2 segments, I have a minor public service announcement. Josh and Nikki don't know that I was going to do this. Minor public service announcement / plea to my fellow coaches and referees. I'm talking to coaches and referees right now. Okay. Score sheets, my friends. We sign our names on them at the end. Do your friend Bill one favor. Before you sign the score sheet, coaches and refs, read it. Just look. The number of score sheets we get on this podcast where like the visitor and home are wrong and it literally like changes the result of who won. Come on, guys. Just read that thing before you sign it. That's all I got to do. You'll be doing us a huge favor. We appreciate you for it. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Well, with that, we're going to take you to our next segment with our buddy Zak Schmoll, who created a really cool program that allows us to, for free, make power soccer plays on the computer, which is incredible. And then right after that, we'll be talking to George Ostrom, Director of Sport for USPSA. And we will see you guys back in January.
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody.
For Power Soccer Shop, we're 3 in the Box.
See ya.
Welcome back to 3 in the Box, powered by Power Soccer Shop. We're here with Zak Schmoll of the Vermont Chargers. We invited Zak to talk a little bit about a pretty cool project that he's been working on. Zak, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you all so much for having me.
Our pleasure. I actually asked Zak if he wanted to be on this episode because, Zak, I'm really excited about this. PowerSoccerPlayDesigner.com for folks at home. Tell us a little about what inspired this project.
Yeah, so the short answer really is I had been using a basketball program for years to diagram plays for my soccer team. And I had a new computer. I had to buy the software overhand, and that company didn't exist anymore. So I was really disappointed. And everything else I found was too expensive. I didn't like it. And I thought, you know what? Why am I paying money for something that's not even about our sport? Like, I'm buying a substitute. And so I thought, well, some of you might remember the fantasy power soccer I did at Nationals.
We remember.
I remember.
Yeah,
I didn't do so hot.
Oh, I didn't either. I made it and I did terrible. But I thought, you know, I used AI to write a lot of the Excel codes to do that.
Mhm.
Can I use AI to build basically an app of sorts? It's a website, but functionally it's an app. And yeah, it turns out you can. So that was kind of the inspiration and what got me thinking, can I do this? And hopefully, hopefully, you know, fill a need that maybe other teams have too, not just ours.
Yeah, I mean, this to me, I got so excited about it when I saw it. And I, as you know, Zak, I reached right out to you when I first saw it because I remember years ago there was like talk of something like this, but everything I've ever done or seen truly, and my old Wisconsin Warriors players can attest to this. I mean, I was literally I was drawing with marker and like taking photos of it and then like posting that stuff on the internet for plays. I did that for years until at one point someone talked of doing something like this, but kudos for actually putting it together because this is awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And yeah, it's exciting because some people really learn well visually, right? I mean, you can describe a play in words, and that's great. But for some people, they need to see it, and I'm that way, and I assume maybe some of you are too. And so I thought, you know, but then, so at first I made it, and you could draw the plays, and then I thought, well, but sometimes the arrows people get confused. So ideally, it should let you animate your plays as well, which is pretty cool for some players. I know my team, we've already updated our whole playbook and we've uploaded them all privately to YouTube. So sorry if anybody wants to know our creativity, but and that's one thing I should disclose to everybody. There is no data saved on the website, so I am not stealing your playbook.
That would be a really clever way to do it, though.
It would
Actually,
be,
I never
right?
thought about that.
I literally put it in the FAQ on the page, and I'm like, someone will be like, "This is totally a plot." But you know,
That would be
it's really
I
cool.
made the website. That would be something.
Exactly, but no, it's I you know, you're trying to meet people where they are to learn, and you know, words, visual or like in motion. Hopefully, you know, it helps someone.
I could definitely see a lot of people benefiting from this.
There is one other program I should say, like out of the UK, but that does a power soccer set. It's very cool, but it was rather pricey. And I know a lot of our teams are on limited budgets, and you know, we may not have, you know, we're paying to travel, we're paying for chairs, going to nationals, whatever, right? And so I never bought that program for my team. It looks amazing. I'm not talking bad about it at all, but I'm hoping this kind of fills a void for for those of us who may not have the budget flexibility to throw the power soccer program.
Yeah, much appreciated for making this free and available to all of us. Also, I mean, I think it's I've played around with it a little bit. It takes some getting used to, but I
Yeah.
actually, think it's pretty user friendly, unless your name's Josh Berger.
Hey. The program is still in its early stages. Even Zach told me so, okay? The chair is like spinning the wrong way. I'm like, no, I want to go left, not right. It's like, what are you doing?
Josh is directionally challenged,
Exactly.
both in game and out of it.
I will say I haven't been able to replicate any of Josh's errors. I'll just say that. I don't know.
Hey, watch it.
But no, it is. And honestly, I've gotten great feedback. I mean, Josh, you've given me a lot. A lot of people have given me great feedback. I was, we had a tournament December 6th in New Hampshire. One of the guys from one of the other teams came up to me and said, "Hey, I love it. I'm working with it. But it would be really helpful if you made some video tutorials." And so I'm like, yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. So now I've thought of that. And so seriously, anybody who uses it, my email's on the website. So feel free to email me or Facebook me. I'm connected to so many of you all on Facebook. I have promise I'm an expert at this at all, but I'll try to. We had a good conversation about how the players rotate, how the pivot point on the wheelchair.
Yeah, but you were talking to David Dallin about that, right?
Yeah, nitpicky David. That's nitpicky David.
I agree with it. I agree.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I agree too. And, it's really funny. I was talking to my family at Thanksgiving about this, and I was about to launch it. I was telling my family about it. And I told them, I'm like, the chairs don't pivot right, but I'm ready to launch it anyway. And that was like the first, I'm like, yeah.
Well, and I'm joking a little bit when I say it's nitpicky, but also like, I'm glad I got the opportunity to say like, this is so much better than anything we've had. I mean, I've not used the UK version. I've not paid for a product either, so I don't know about that. But in terms of like this versus magic markers, dude, like this is revolutionary, I think. So if we got to tweak little things like the chair pivot point, I think we're doing okay.
I think so. And ultimately, I mean, like I said, I built this with AI. I don't pretend to be a programmer, and so, I mean, hopefully someday someone even much better than me makes an even better one. I mean, you know how like in power soccer, right? We always talk about how we want to, we're a real sport, right? That's what we talk about all the time. And why don't we have things that real sports have? Every other sport has one of these, so we should have one too.
Love it.
It's funny. I had the same exact conversation with my dad last night. We just flipped it to the TV and we put on ESPN News channel, and we're watching adult turf kickball. Like, what is this? Like, you got adult turf kickball on ESPN, but you can't have power soccer on ESPN? There's something seriously wrong with this picture.
We'll change that. We'll change that eventually. Yeah. We'll get there. Yeah. We'll be out of a job someday because people will realize how cool this sport is. For sure. Well, Zach, we really appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate the tool. PowerSoccerPlayDesigner.com is the website. Free for anybody to use. Zak Schmoll, the Vermont Chargers. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Zach.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 3 in the Box, powered by Power Soccer Shop. We have with us today George Ostrom, whose name I've been pronouncing wrong for like 7 years, apparently.
Hey, you got it right.
The USPSA Director of Sport. George, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
George, how did you get into power soccer?
Oh, man. All right. Let's start.
Start from the beginning.
Right? Mm-hmm. Well, my first introduction to the sport was actually in the summer of 2008. So my parents have a lake place on the same lake as a camp called Camp Courage. And I've always wanted to check them out or whatever. So I finally just volunteered, and I happened to be for power soccer camp. And I was just instantly hooked. I met a whole bunch of people that we're, still friends with today. Some from local, some from across the country, and the rest was history. I mean, I became certified as a referee in the following year, so in 2009.
Wow.
And I've been back to Power Soccer Camp nearly every year since. A couple times I've missed it, but yeah, pretty much every year since. It's kind of my favorite part of the year. So
Wow. So you really bought into it right after you got introduced to it and becoming a referee and everything.
yeah, yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I jumped right in. It's actually how I ended up meeting my wife and everything like that too. So
Oh, nice. Really nice.
That's
That's
wild
awesome.
to me. Like every story we hear, because we ask people this question, right? And just being out in the power soccer world, you ask people this question. Like usually it's like somebody brought me in, it seems like, or like I was a kid and I like you were just like, hey, that looks cool. I love that.
yeah, I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Awesome. I love that. So, George, the first question I want to ask you, because frankly, I still have questions about it. What does the director of sport do for USPSA exactly?
Well, when you find out, make sure you let me know. No, I'm just
Fair enough. Fair answer.
So I had to do a lot of digging to figure out, and it's kind of a difficult one to wrap your brain around. I will say, so if you take a look at the bylaws, the first one here, I pulled it up so I didn't butcher it, but it said job duty number 1 is perform duties as the president may assign. So that's number 1, right? So I'm kind of in that role, tackling any problems that we need to tackle. But overall, the general idea of it is being in charge of athlete, coach, and referee development, training, oversight, competition structure, all of the things that makes competition happen.
Right on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big role. I think that even going into it, my hope was to expand this role into more of a team position, because I don't think there's anybody out there that could do justice to all of those things simultaneously, right? So we have so many resources in the power soccer community here, and why not tap into them? So that is something that I'm working towards. There's a few things along the way that are, of course, interfering with my ideals, but we gotta, once we work through those things, I would really like to kind of branch this position out a little bit more, pull in some more people and get some more, especially development. I really want to work on that development of everybody, right? Not just the athletes, but also the coaches and the referees. One thing that I do want to talk about though is that, I mean, you were all at nationals last year, right? I know Bill wasn't playing, but you guys were all there. And it was amazing how we were able to pack like sardines into that beautiful Turnstone facility, right? Like it's a truly incredible facility, and I don't know where else. I mean, I'm sure there's places out there, but it served us so well for so long. But we're reaching this point of having so many teams at that event that something needs to change. It's a beautiful problem to have, right? That we're growing. But that's something that I wasn't expecting to have to tackle so soon. But the more I'm thinking about it, that's really going to be a big problem in the future. So that is one thing we have been just kind of brainstorming, coming up with some ideas about on how can we maybe restructure things so that all of our play throughout the season matters more, so that end tournament is something that's more feasible, right? That doesn't tap out all the athletes and all the referees and all the everybody, right? It's amazing to all be together, all one spot. But we're just trying to come up with some other options that we could do either in addition or separately to expand the sport, promote the growth of the sport, and make it sustainable. Really, that's what it's going to come down to. If we want the sport to continue growing, then we got to figure out a different solution.
I got to give you props for being willing to come on this show and say that, George, because Josh and I have heard a lot of people come on this show and not want to talk about those two things you just mentioned. One, moving nationals, right? Or at least discussing the possibility of moving nationals, because it's going to be a tricky proposition, right? We know that. The other thing I heard you say that we've heard a lot of people say off the air, but they won't say on camera, is that there's talk of the regular season, and does that quote unquote matter enough, and is that something our league should be talking about? So I got to give you props for being willing to say that with your whole chest. because I think it's stuff that everybody knows needs to happen, but everybody's kind of afraid to stick their toe into the water on that.
I was going to say, you didn't see my foot coming into my mouth when I was talking.
No, I love it. I love that we're having the discussion.
No, I mean, I can't say that we have a definitive answer, right? And I know that we've tossed ideas around as a board, and we are all over the place, and we all have some really amazing ideas that could really shift, everything. But coming up with a plan that works to promote the sport in the way that's best for the athletes is going to be the biggest challenge. So yes, we actually have been meeting weekly about this. I guess we started not too long ago, but we're going to continue meeting weekly until we have something that we can throw out as kind of a proposal to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you guys are having those conversations, I think that's a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's great. Go ahead, Nikki.
I was just gonna say, also flashback to like Brett's episode where
I was just gonna bring that up. Yep.
with his expansion goals, and you're definitely gonna have to find new plans for nationals in the future.
Yeah, once we hit 2,000 athletes, I'm not sure we're all going to fit in Turnstone. So.
We could barely fit in as is.
Oh
my gosh. That's
build
funny.
a bigger Turnstone, I think. Renovation.
We'll just get some billionaire to build a central location to all things power soccer.
There you go, Josh.
Yeah.
Get to work.
Save your
Working
pennies.
on it. I'm trying.
Yeah, save your pennies. Exactly. So, George, what about this job so far has been like, you talked a little bit about this, like what's been different from what you expected maybe, or what's been a surprise? And then what's been your biggest challenge so far in the role?
Those are both really good questions, and I'm not sure I'll do either one of them justice. But I guess just starting with the challenge. So knowing where everybody is around. So I guess one thing that's really important to me is to make sure that we're not making decisions that will start affecting just like individual people, individual teams. We're not trying to exclude anyone. We're trying to promote the growth. But it's funny how gray those lines get, right? Where sometimes there's not a good solution, right? And we have to kind of figure out a way to swim those seas, to navigate those little situations that just pop up. And sometimes they're more urgent than other times, but either way, we need to figure out these answers. And there's a lot of things that are established policies and that sort of thing. And there's a lot of things that don't really exist yet. So that's another thing that Brett and I have been talking a lot about as well, is we need to start making some, standard operating procedures for different situations and that sort of thing. So it's kind of, I'm not new to boards in general, but I'm definitely new to USPSA, and just trying to figure out all of the policies and all of the everything is working through the right channels. That sort of thing has also been kind of a challenge. I'm figuring it out. That it's a absolutely amazing team. From top to bottom, I can trust everyone to make the best decisions, right? I can lean on any of them for support when I need it. So that has been amazing, but there is still just that challenge of the logistics and of the things that just keep popping up, right? Putting out all the little fires.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, I know what that's like. Just being on a board for a couple of years, there's a lot of moving parts, and yeah, you might have ideas, but you got to take care of the other stuff, like you said. So I want to ask, what was it like officiating at the America's Cup, and what was that experience like? And was that your first America's Cup? I couldn't remember if you did the 2019 one or not.
No, yeah, that was my first time. It was surreal. It was just a fantastic experience. So it was unlike any other refereeing gig I've had in the past, right? It was humbling. It was a learning opportunity. All the things all at once. There's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of just the intensity of everything is times 10. I think I'm very used to. I mean, there's competition in the United States, right? And we get intense, we get heated. But after the whistle blows, then we're all friends again, right? And there's just that community feel, that vibe. And FIPFA runs a really tight ship for a good reason. There are team issues, right? There are some teams that don't like other teams. There's a lot of animosity there at times, and the spotlight's always on, right? If you make that one bad call or whatever it is, the the rest of the stands are going to haunt you for forever. I will say I signaled the wrong way that I intended to signal, which happens, right? They switch sides at halftime or whatever, and you go to signal one way or you point the stick in the wrong direction, even though you know what the call is. And I felt so bad because I did it twice to the same team. But so yeah, poor Brazil. But yeah, so there's things like that happen. It was also really cool to have comms. I've never done that for Power Soccer, but I don't know if you saw on the live stream. But
Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah, the 3 refs out there were all in communication the whole time. Just working on positioning and that sort of thing. Another really cool thing that we did was every night, I mean, it made for long nights, but every night we met together again. And for an hour or two, we looked over film from the day and trying to figure out, why did we make this call this way? Why were we positioned this way? What should we do next time? And we do that as athletes. We watch film, we do that sort of thing, but I haven't done that enough as a referee. So to go back and watch explicitly for those things was really, really eye-opening. So
I think that speaks to, like, I don't know, just like the growth and seriousness of this sport that, like, I mean, I remember back in the early days, my early days with the Warriors, like, they thought I was crazy, some of them, for making them watch film. And now 5-6 years later, the refs are watching. I mean, that's fantastic. That just speaks to how seriously you guys take this and how much you want to get better at what you're doing. I love that.
And I thought the officiating was pretty top notch at the America's Cup. Well, you guys are humans. You're gonna make mistakes, but I thought it was really well officiated tournament.
Well, thanks. Yeah, no, it was a really fun group of guys. We didn't have enough. We were hoping to have at least 1 or 2 more. One of the problems was that 4 of us, so there's only 8 referees there, and 4 of us were from the States. So that made some conflicts of interest, right?
Yeah.
But we persevered. We made it happen.
Okay.
It was also kind of fun to work with. So I'm not a fluent Spanish speaker by any means. So that was kind of a fun experience as well, to work with some referees that weren't fluent in English either. So we were able to communicate and make things happen, but just that whole language barrier was kind of a fun twist on things, right? Like, it was just kind of a cool cultural experience as well, with the athletes as well. Just their different warm-up routines, their different ways that they're interacting in the hotel, or everything. It was just a really cool experience to see everybody come together like that.
Was that language barrier ever an issue on the court, George? I mean, we didn't see it, but was it for you or for anybody?
For the nuanced things, right? The maybe positioning, or if we, as an AR, if I saw something and I tried to explain it to the center ref, he was so focused on the game, and with the language barrier and everything, there was just that he maybe didn't quite understand what I was saying, or misinterpreted things or whatever. But for the most part, we made it happen, right? It wasn't a big deal.
Right on.
Nice.
During the America's Cup, we saw some penalty kicks. And so what's your opinion of the different penalty kick rules, and what do you think we should be using, like in the United States?
First of all, stellar segue. So we've tried all sorts of things, right? Or at least internationally. The USPSA is kind of stuck with the same thing, right? Where the goalie can't move. Have to be behind the line. They can position anywhere, face any direction, whatever, but they can't move until the ball is touched. That's the way that the FIFA laws are at, or at least for the America's Cup. That's how the FIFA laws were. There's also an interpretation thing with that, right? So how much wiggling do they allow that goalkeeper to do before they call that as an early start, or that sort of thing? So I think, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the other things that they've tried, right? They've tried the moving goalkeeper. They've tried having it at, a stationary goalkeeper, but moving that to the top of the box, or to, 4.5 meter mark, whatever it is. So it's a little farther away, give that goalkeeper a little more chance to get there. There's different things that they've tried. I think it was kind of cool when the goalkeeper could move. That's more like the outdoor game. Not that power soccer has to perfectly replicate the outdoor game, but that is a part of soccer, right? Where that goalkeeper can kind of, bounce around on that line as long as they don't cross it. So that I kind of like that aspect of it. It did significantly reduce the number of shots that went in. So you don't want to penalize. I mean, you don't want to take away that scoring opportunity for the team that was fouled on, essentially. But it did add some more excitement and things. So I don't. At the end of the day, I see the benefits of anything. I'm willing to go whatever direction we want. One thought I had. So right now we're doing the Golden Guard thing. For after the 2 5 minutes or whatever, at least at the Conference Cup, that's kind of how we did the tiebreakers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that. It didn't get too out of hand this year, but it has in the past. Another thought that I've had in the past is more like the football thing, when they start on the 20-yard line or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't watch football, but maybe teams alternate with corner kicks or, just something like that, where they have just a different way that is more live play and team focused versus that mano-a-mano. But but also penalty kicks are so much fun that it's we do have to figure out something. I'm not sure I love the current system, but I'm not ready to just abandon it quite yet.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think Bill and I had talked about this either on the podcast.
We've talked about this off the air a lot.
Yeah. So we were talking about especially prime example, Canada and Mexico, and so the goalies were moving a lot, and I think it was the Mexico's goalie that was moving a lot, and then you guys were trying to blow in the whistle because they were jumping it, but then sometimes it looked like they were jumping it and then they allowed the goal. So I just feel I don't know, sometimes it makes it harder for the official to judge those penalty kicks because they're moving, but they're not supposed to. But I feel like we should be able to move. So I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's going to go back to any of those subjective calls too, like the 2-on-1 or the contact calls, anything like that. And that's the part I don't like very much, is that it leaves so much up to that referee or that team of referees.
Yeah,
that was another thing that I found difficult. I was the fourth official for that match, so I was out at center court just kind of keeping track of the players. The other referees who are, they're FIFA referees. I'm not. I'm just a PFC or whatever. I never got the FIFA badge, not yet. I'm working on it. But no, they know what they're doing. They allowed more movement than I would have allowed. So I don't know who's right, who's wrong, but no, I did notice that as well. If I was on the line, I would have been calling that goalie more for the amount of movement that was happening.
Well, and it felt to me, and this is, you don't have to respond to this, George. This is just I like to give my opinions. That's why I have a podcast, Pro Power Soccer. To me, in the beginning, they and I'll call out Evan because we like Evan. We know Evan. Evan's a great player. And the first couple calls, Evan was moving, they called it right away. But then as that PK shootout progressed, it was almost like they sort of gave up on it. There were times towards the end of that shootout where Evan was moving more, and not just Evan, both goalies, but I know Evan, so I'm going to talk about him. There were times it looked like he was moving more at the end of the shootout than at the beginning, and he was getting called at the beginning, but not the end. So it almost felt to me I think to what Josh is kind of saying is wouldn't it be easier just for everybody if we just said, okay, let them move?
All right. To me, I like to see the more pure style of, moving before the ball gets kicked kind of thing, because it makes it more entertaining. It makes it harder. It's not a shoo-in for the shooter.
I was gonna say it's not fun for the goalie at all currently.
Right. It's a really helpless feeling.
Well, and I just think about George, you're a Minnesota guy. I'm a Minnesota sports fan. I think about, I've said this on the podcast before, my man is Dane St. Clair, right? And he's doing everything he can do, to get in that shooter's head. He knows that the chance he's going to stop that. Every professional goalie, whether it's stand-up game or our game, they know there's a very small chance of them stopping that ball. So you're taking every opportunity you can get. You're trying to yap and get in that player's head, and you're moving around. You're jumping. You're trying to fake one way or fake the other. I feel like we
can I see those moves
that.
again?
What's that? You like my
moves? I got it. Yeah. No, I'm just teasing.
Shoot 'em moves again.
Should know better. I should know better than to do that with you guys here. I just feel like we've taken that out. We're missing that in our game. We're missing that little bit of psychological edge that a keeper can try to get.
So I was just curious why and maybe there's more background information I don't know, but why the U.S. adopts some of the international rules and not others.
That is a really good question, and I'm not entirely sure. I know there's a process to follow to change USPSA's laws of the game naturally, as there should be. Another thought that I just had that popped into my mind was I'm not entirely certain, but I do believe that many of the other countries don't have their own laws of the game. If that makes sense. They just follow the FIFA laws of the game for club play and for everything. So
Okay.
that I mean, we got to figure out the classification issue, but
Yeah.
but I don't know. I kind of like that idea as well of moving away. Why keep two sets of very similar rules with slight differences, right? But I think our laws haven't changed since I'm pulling it up. Yeah, since 2021. So it's been a few years, and I think FIFA's gone through at least one or two. I know at least one, if not two or three, even revisions since that point. So not always major changes, but there are slight differences. And there, I don't know if you noticed at the America's Cup, but there were some pretty cool differences that I thought. Did you notice anything like that?
The only thing I noticed was that at the 23 World Cup, you were not allowed to go off the court on purpose or as an automatic red. I didn't really see that at this America's Cup. I don't know if people were being self-conscious about it, or I did see somebody go off the court, I think, and nothing happened.
Yeah, that's right. That's one of the rule changes. So I think it was more of an interpretation thing.
Mhm.
So deliberately leaving the field of play without permission is a cardable offense.
Right.
But in the course of play, if you if you're going down the sideline and you're the whole of your chair is on the outside of the touch line, you technically are deliberately leaving the field of play, right? But you would never give somebody a yellow card while they have the ball there. So then the interpretation, at least in Europe, was more about, hey, if they're out of bounds to avoid a 2-on-1, then it is a yellow card. One of the things that I'm thinking about with the running sport, right? The 2-on-1 is meant to be kind of the equivalent of offside, right? And you see all the time in the running sport, if someone is caught offside and they're not part of the play, they just step off. They go like this. They wait for play to carry on. They don't need permission to re-enter. They just wait for play to go. Once it's totally past them, they re-enter themselves and they can continue playing. Why can't we do that? Like, why is that? If that's not a yellow card, why are we getting yellow cards for accidentally going out of bounds? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But that's kind of how it's worded, right? So you could still be called for a 2-on-1 because you're still in that 2-on-1 position and have that involvement, even though you're off the pitch. But yeah, no, it's not a cardable offense like that. If you say go off the court, right, and then you go 20 meters down the sideline and pop back on, then yeah, that's a cardable offense. That's deception.
Pretty much just get on, get off.
Yeah,
or get off and then get on.
Stay out for a minute until play carries on, pop back on. Yeah, so internationally, that is now legal. It's explicitly written in there.
Interesting. Okay.
Another one of the things, though, is the failure to respect distance. So if there's if it's like the encroachment, right? So if you set up 5 meters, by the time that ball is touched, they're 3.5 meters away, and then the ball hits the opposing player, right? The way they have it now in FIFA, instead of just retaking the kick, you actually move the ball to the spot that it made contact with that other player and repeat the kick from there. So it's more of a more persuasive to keep your distance, which I do kind of appreciate. I think there's some things that could be reworded there for clarity. We were enforcing it as if they're interfering with play, then we can do it whether or not they touch the ball. But the plain text of the FIFA rules are they have to touch the ball in order to have that penalty assessed, essentially. But
it's essentially a 5-yard penalty, like an offside football.
Yeah. The other thing I don't like about it, though, too, is that if they're only 1 meter away from the ball by the time it's touched, then they're only penalized 1 meter. But if they're 4.5 meters from the ball by the time it's touched, then they're penalized 4.5 meters. So it's kind of the closer you are, the less of an impact it has. But at least the thought of it being more than just a re-kick, I think, is a good one.
There's this sort of old idea that I used to hear a lot that was like, we try to keep the wheelchair game as close as we can to the running game. What's your thought on that? Like, is that something you see us sticking to, something you see us getting away from, or like why or why not?
I mean, it is soccer, right? We don't want to go totally, away from soccer. There are definitely going to be differences, and I think that that's okay to embrace those differences when it makes sense. That's why we have the 2-on-1 and not an offside rule.
Yeah.
That's any variation of the game, we're going to do that, whether it's amputee soccer or it's you name it. There's so many different, even like futsal has different rules or different laws, I should say. I have to get rules out of my head. It's always laws. But yeah, I think I appreciate it staying close to the game. It needs to look like soccer. It needs to feel like soccer. But it already is soccer. So if we need to tweak something, then we tweak it to make it work for these athletes.
I like that.
So on the set ball, we're facing face to face, and it's all ball contact. It's now 1 meter away. I feel like one is kind of cool, but like it's kind of rough on the neck for people. Like if you're like just bumping it like that. I thought, why don't we do a set ball, almost kind of like hockey or like lacrosse, where the chairs are like side by side and the ball's in the middle, and then we're both touching the ball from the get go, and then somebody blows a whistle, then you fight for the ball.
So you don't turn and smash each other. You're already touching the ball.
Exactly.
All right. I can see
You're
that.
like fighting for the ball. What do you think of that idea? Do you think that's something that we could implement in the future?
I think that's
He wants to
cool.
call it the burger rule.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea. I think the problem you're going to run into, though, is who gets the outside, right?
Yeah.
So that would be an issue, I think. So, and that's another change to FIFA too. So in USPSA, they cannot be any closer than 1 meter from the ball, which is dangerous. Right. Like you're saying, it just never works out. Yeah. They changed it in FIFA now where they can be no further than 1 foot apart from the ball.
Yeah, because they're almost touching it now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, and that has helped.
Yes.
There's still some ramming. There's still players that try to turn before the ball is touched or all the things, but it's helped. I think that might be the better approach. So I think that's what we need to start trying. I'm open to other ideas, but
not Josh's.
Apparently not mine. That's fine.
How about this? We can set the ball up about 6 inches off the ground, right?
Yeah.
Both chairs come and touch it, so it's just suspended in the air.
Yeah.
And we just back up and blow the whistle and see what
happens. I like it. Let's do that.
You can try it out.
Just bounce the ball.
See how it works.
George, kind of on the subject of rules or like rule change conversations, I've commented to a lot of people since USPSA Nationals this past year about, I've sort of like lamented and complained about how the ball in the air rule has sort of evolved in how it's applied. Can you talk to me a little bit about why it's, and you can tell me I'm crazy, I know you will. It seems to me like as soon as that ball was 20 inches off the ground back in the day, that whistle got blown. And now like we're seeing situations where if there's not a player close to it, that ball can sail across the court. And as long as it doesn't land on somebody, that's a ball in play. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. I think technically in USPSA's laws of the game, as soon as it hits that 20, it's out of play. So that should be a whistle with the current laws of the game. Now, FIFA has made that revision. So now if it doesn't impact play, it can continue, even if it's well above that 20 inches. So the good thing safety is always first, right? If there's ever a safety concern, blow the whistle. Not worth doing it. If it's above that 20-inch mark and it's near the goal line, blow the whistle, right? Like there's just those situations that it makes sense to stop it right away. But I do kind of appreciate the flexibility to not call it when we don't need to. So if there's a situation where there's a player who just takes a wild spin kick on a bouncing ball and just blasts it out of bounds, I don't want a set ball there. That player chose to hit the ball out of bounds, give it to the team, right? And if that goes 21 inches over, or if it goes 50 inches in the air, either way, that should be the other team's ball. So I guess that's my first thought. The other thing, since we're kind of talking about it, I would like to see some more dangerous play calls on those situations where the ball is elevated. Oftentimes it's because of that situation. There's a ball that's kind of skipping across the court to someone and they take a full spin kick on it. With the way chairs are tuned right now, not just the Strike Force chairs, but with all the compensation, with all the different chair settings, they're really dialing in to be super efficient and kick the ball just super hard. Someone's going to take it in the face, and I'm sure they already have, right? We've had a lot of close calls. And I mean, what's a few brain cells for Josh? But still, there's a
God, everybody's throwing me shade on this show. Ridiculous.
No, but seriously, it is a really scary thing. So if someone's going to be spinning on a ball that's bouncing to them, I think we need to start calling that as dangerous play and giving the other team that indirect free kick. It could even be a yellow card or a red card if it's done maliciously. So yeah, I think we do need to start calling that more. I'm okay with that ball being in the air and out of bounds. I mean, we need to revise the laws of the game, but I would be totally fine with that. If the ball is in the air away from play, it doesn't impact things, let it go. But there's also, we really need to clarify what impacting play means, because if that ball goes 50 inches in the air and then it's bouncing and it's under the 20 inches, but it's still bouncing by the time it, gets to that next player, that already has interfered with play, because now that ball is bouncing still halfway across the court, but that player can't play it as if they could play a ball that was just rolling there. So we would definitely have to do some wordsmithing there to make it clear and to kind of minimize those situations where someone could get hurt, but also where there's a team that might be, maybe a goal is scored in that situation because it wasn't over 20 when it crossed the line, but it was over 20 just seconds before that or whatever it was. So yeah, we'd have to do some wordsmithing, but I do see the advantage of having that for those situations where the ball is clearly going out of bounds. We want to reduce the number of set balls. One quick thing on this. So they did some, the president of the APFC, Pablo, he has since resigned, but at the Cup, he was just crunching some numbers, and he found out in a 20-minute half, guess how much time the ball was actually in play?
Oh, no. Oh, boy. Oh.
How much time was actually in play?
How much out of 20 minutes the ball was in play?
How much actual live play happened?
I would hope like
10
17 minutes.
12.
10?
6 or 7.
What?
6 or 7 minutes, a half of actual play. There are so many resets, and the resets take forever. So as much as we can do to reduce the number of set balls and that sort of thing, the more playing time we're going to get. Because you think you're out there playing a 40-minute match when you're really only playing a 14-minute match.
Right.
So I think anything we can do to expedite restarts and that sort of thing would also be really important. I don't have the numbers for, for USPSA, but that's what it was for some of those matches.
That is wild.
Cup. Yep.
So we all know at Nationals, this past National, we were all told we got to extend the wheel guards of our chair, and we were very adamant about it. Have you seen a difference in how players are playing or officiating with the wheel guards being extended?
Yeah, I'm going to back up just for a second and talk about the safety of it, right? So I know that it was a big deal, and I know that some teams, Josh, you're very familiar with this, had to work super hard, put in a ton of hours to try to make that happen.
Yep.
It was a nightmare.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it was the right call because we don't want anybody to get hurt, right?
Right.
We've had injuries. We don't want more. So I think just to start with, I think it was the right call, even though it was not ideal. There's some players where it's not just feasible. This can't happen. I haven't noticed a ton of difference personally, but I haven't been out there much yet this year either for reffing. So one thing that I was worried about, so balancing all the things, right? So this is whether we're talking about competitive structure or we're talking about the season or to to start with, there's that barrier to entry. You need a Strikeforce chair to be competitive. So there
Right.
goes 10 grand minimum, right?
Yeah.
Now, if we're going to make athletes have to add modifications to the chair, it only goes up from there. So that financial burden on teams, I don't want. I want to try to minimize that as much as possible, and that includes travel costs and that sort of thing. So if we are going to up the stakes for the regular season, how do we do that in a way that doesn't cost teams an arm and a leg when they're already paying all this money to just get a silly chair to play? Not silly, but it seems like a huge upfront investment just to play soccer, just to play the sport that they love. So yes, financially, I think that's a big concern. I think everybody found a way to make it happen, and that was really cool. There will probably always have to be some exceptions, but those hopefully are few and far between, and we can kind of work those as they come up. One thing that I think could be an issue, though, especially for the rear guards that kind of bolt onto the back, you don't have to replace the whole wheel well and everything. That's a significant amount of weight added to the back of the chair. And I'm curious how athletes feel about their ability to spin kick and that sort of thing, because those Strikeforce chairs were designed to have all that weight right over the axle so that they would be able to spin more quickly. When you extend that back out, for every inch back you go, there's going to be extra, counterbalance that will work against you there. Plus just the weight of the steel is substantial. So that would be the one thing I'm thinking is going to be a bigger deal. I think also some athletes were so used to the way their back of their chair was, they knew how to, just go in reverse and, bop it back to their teammate or whatever. But now that's at a completely different spot. They've got 8 inches off now. So just adjusting to that, and everybody will, but so those are the kind of the little things I've seen or can anticipate. But at the end of the day, I think that's what we had to do.
Yeah, it was a difficult decision to make, but like you said, it had to be done for the sole reason of safety.
So kind of like coming full circle and back to where we started the conversation, what were you seeing in the sport that inspired you to run for director of sport?
One of the most frustrating things I experienced or witnessed maybe was just how disjointed everybody was based on geography and based on role in the game, right? It seemed like there were, even with athletes, those that played from the East Coast play different than those from the West Coast, that sort of thing. And that's fine. You play against the teams that are around you, and that's how different strategies and things build. The same was happening with referees. So if you get a ref from California, they're going to call 2-on-1s differently than a ref from Indiana. And I think that was the part that started to make me frustrated, was that we don't have a clear vision on these things. It's hard to call balls and strikes when the strike zone could either be this big or it could be, the size of the stadium. Right. There's some refs that just had their, could have kept their whistle at home if they wanted to. And there's others that just are constantly calling everything. And there's got to, and either way is fine. It's just, we need to be consistent with it so that the athletes know what to expect. So I think that was one of my biggest things. But the other thing I noticed is that there was just kind of an animosity where one thing that I try really hard to do when I'm reffing is I try to be as confident as I can with my calls. However, I know that I'm human and that I make mistakes. And I think that sometimes what I saw, referees were enforcing the laws of the game in the right ways. But if they aren't able to explain it clearly, or if they get hostile when someone asks, "Oh, can you explain that call?" then that just caused so much tension. So there's a whole bunch of athletes or teams that were really frustrated with referees, and there was a whole bunch of referees that were really frustrated with teams and athletes when I saw it as a simple miscommunication, right? Nobody was on the same page with even how to call it. And when they tried to have that conversation, it was just like butting heads together, right? So one of my goals was to kind of unify that. So that's not sure if, I guess none of you are referees, so you probably didn't do it. But part of the referee registration process this year was taking a refresher class on 2-on-1s. So it was about a 20-minute thing, taking a little, lots of video and stuff included, taking a little quiz about it at the end. It added a step to registration, and we're already strapping for referees. So I knew that was going to be a problem, and registration itself was just a nightmare. So that's something else to fix for next year. However, I'm really glad that we were able to work that in there. I'm also hoping to do the same for like contact calls. So just kind of that referee development was one thing that I wanted to do, because I felt like it was really disadvantaging the athletes if they didn't know what to expect.
That's a great point about consistency, because I have to remind my teammates that like sometimes we have to adjust how we play on like 2-on-1s based on like what ref we have.
Yeah, and that's never. I mean, that's always going to be the case, right? We're always going to have to adjust, but hopefully it doesn't have such. Hopefully it's not as drastic of an adjustment, right? Maybe you learn that somebody's 3 meters from the ball is more like 2.5 meters, and maybe you learn that someone is more like 3.5 meters, and you can play within that. But when somebody's is 5 meters and somebody's is 1 meter, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that, thank you so much, George Ostrom, USPSA Director of Sport, and I'll say it on the record again, one of the best referees in the game. George, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was a blast.
Appreciate
Let me know
it.
next time you want me.
We would love to have you back. For Power Soccer Shop, we're 3 in the box. We'll see you in January.
Like anybody knows me.
This is a Facade podcast.